Thank you all so much for sharing this space with me. It's a really beautiful gesture for She the People to be intentional about including the voices of trans women and including the voices of people that typically aren't a part of catch-all advocacy, because catch-all advocacy doesn't catch us all, and many of us fall through the cracks. And in many spaces, I'm in a lot of spaces that are predominantly white, and I see a lot of things that we do as women of color in those spaces, and I can't call it out because I'm from Kentucky, where you don't put family on blast in front of company. You wait until company has gone home for the evening, and then you get down to business. So right now, we're going to get down to business. So I also became the first trans person to run for California state legislature. Don't clap just yet. So what I realized is that we have a very narrow understanding of what intersectionality is in its fullness. What if I told you that intersectionality was more nuanced than race and gender? When I went to run for office, what I found was that people were excited about women running for office. People were excited about women of color running for office. But when it came to the trans thing, yeah, we're kind of getting there, but right now these people are more important. People came and told me that you're a little young, so maybe you should just wait maybe 10 or 15 more years. People gave me advice like, maybe you should, I don't know, cover your tattoos, and to which my reply was, absolutely not. People told me that maybe you should hold back on the stories about you being homeless, and the stories about you being a survival sex worker, and the stories about you having to navigate mental health, and the stories about you being addicted to drugs. And I also push back against that because my life experiences are not something that I should be apologetic about, and they inform my leadership. So when we talk about she the people, we need to get very specific about what people we're talking about. She the sex worker, she the homeless, she the incarcerated, she the immigrant, she the disabled, she who's trying to get her children back, she who is trying her hardest to get a job with the background and past that she has. But she is still the future. And so what I challenge us all to do is to step our feminism up, to expand our scope of intersectionality, to include the people that everybody tends to erase. I'm often reminded of a quote by Audre Lorde in which she says, "I am not free while any woman is unfree, even though her shackles be very different from my own." And it's one of my favorite because it reminds me that we are of a collective palate, and not a single one of us will taste liberation until we all do. Intersectionality has to exist in every single space that women occupy. Intersectionality needs to exist in our faith-based community. Intersectionality needs to exist in our institutions of learning. Intersectionality needs to exist in corporate culture. It should exist in entertainment. But the most important part and place that intersectionality should exist is within our hearts. When we're running around trying to raise funds for campaigns, I think that that's a huge part of politics. But what are you willing to do for the people that can't finance that campaign? We're all knocking on the doors of all the rich folks. We're all knocking on the doors of the people that we want to add to our social capital. But are you going to knock on doors of the jail? Are you going to the boulevard and the streets and the homeless shelters and the places where people need to be represented and advocated for the most? Because you may not see value in those people who can't finance your campaign, but what I can guarantee you is that your fiercest workers are the ones who have absolutely nothing to lose but life itself. So in 2018, I'm proud to live in a country where a porn star was the one that got Michael Cohen to plead guilty to bank fraud, tax fraud, campaign finance fraud, and which led to this snowball effect that's leading toward the Russia probe. We need to revisit women's place in politics. We have to stop promulgating respectability politics put into place by people who don't respect us. We are bigger than that. We are bolder than that. We are more courageous than that. We are more multifaceted than that. And so I know this is a space in which we're celebrating one another, we're uplifting one another, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to go within and really interrogate our intentions. What is it that we want to bring to these communities? Because if we're not careful, we are going to become a microcosm of the thing that we're trying to dismantle at the macro. So I just thank you so much. My time is up, but I'm really grateful to be here. I'm really grateful to expand the conversation further, and I challenge everyone to revisit what your idea of being a woman is and who is included in that definition. And I challenge you to also allow yourself to get uncomfortable. It's going to get uncomfortable, but that's where growth takes place. And I think that in 2018, not only are we willing to grow, but we're willing to do whatever it takes to move America forward. So I thank you all for your contributions and what you're doing to make that happen.